So hi everyone, welcome to the second session or the stage two of the product discussion that we had. So as anyone who might have seen the first stage of this would understand that this was a typical blueprint that I showed, that before any dashboard or any data product is conceptualized, this is something of such kind of discussion goes through. The first thing is that you will identify what kind of views you want to have, or what kind of KPIs are you looking for while creating the data or while preparing for the visualization. The second thing is you will target and you will find out the information on where those resources or that information or that data is residing. Once you identify, so I've listed down couple of data sources name db2 teradata sharepoint gcp. Again, I'll reiterate myself, google cloud platform, and flat files are nothing but csv, text file, or xlsx file. So excel files to be in layman's language. These are the things that are require, means we import and we use. Landing area is nothing but where we basically perform our extraction of data and transformation of data. So the term ETL that you might have heard many times, that is what the landing area is for. And you would have different kind of data available. You'll perform different data operations, and you can create data at different levels. So there can be customer level data, there can be product level data, there can be transitional level data. So if I give you a brief difference on what it could be, so customer level data would be one single line item for one customer. So let's say there is a customer ID XYZ. Okay, so that XYZ would have one single row allotted to it, and all the KPIs would have those value. It won't have multiple line items for it. Then in product level, what will happen is, let's say in customer cube we have number of product health, so we will have a single value that customer holds 6 or 7 or 2 or 1, right? But when we go into the product level module, so just to give you an example, it's not mandatory, it's different for different organization and different kind of data form, but this is a common example that I have seen across in my experience. So in product module, what you would have, so in product module you would have, for one single customer ID you will have multiple line items. So let's say if we are saying that in customer cube the customer is holding six, it says customer is holding six product. So in this it will have six different line items: credit card, mortgage, personal loan, something of such kind. Okay, and each would have their own information. So what is the interest coming out of credit card, what is the outstanding balance on credit card, how when was a credit card issued. So similarly goes, it will have information on all the products. Then transaction level, so in customer level cube, it can have something called number of transactions, and it will have a total of 100, right? That this customer has performed 100 transactions. But when you will come into the transaction module, you will have 100 row items for. So let's say customer X, transaction ID this, transaction on, type of transaction, mode of transaction, amount of transaction, receiver, or if it has been sent or received. So that kind of information you would have, and then you will, then there comes the magic of your programming and your different skills, where you will collaborate this data and summarize it, or maybe create at customer level also. So different kinds of there are two different kinds of ways in which you can store this data, either at customer level or summary level. Customer level would have brief information, summary level would have will have much descriptive, summary level would have brief. It would not have any PII information, that is it would not have any kind of personal identifiable information. And whenever you are working in any organization, PII information is strictly need to know basis. If you're not authorized, do not access that information or share it with anyone. It's a basic ethics in terms of data protection that everyone should follow. Okay, so as you have already seen in the slide that we talked about all this, so let's get into the first part of it: different kinds of data sources. So today what we are going to see is how we can connect to different data sources, okay, and how we can import that data. So most of you might be already aware that we have something called proc import to import, either CSV file, or or we have flat files, multiple file types of files you can import using a proc import. But there are other, other techniques, other data sources also, for which you have to use some different methods that we are going to discuss today. And in addition to that, before we do that, I'm just showing you, I'm just trying to conceptualize this for you, that how the thought process goes while you are creating a data product. So let's say this is an existing dashboard that you have, right? So you have net profit, and you have then, you have a profitability indicator ratio. So you have, gross profit operation. So these are all KPIs that they would have at customer level. Then they would have summarized it, and then they would have created visuals over it. That is what I understand out of this, right? So let's see, they have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 quarter wise information as well. So this is all something that they might have, have different underlying lying data layers. So there is a possibility that this might all reside on a, let's say SaaS, on-prem server in form of SaaS dataset at customer level. What I believe, this looks like it has been created in Click. So they imported that data in Click, and then they wrote the script to summarize the data to create this Q4, Q3, Q2. So this calculation, this data, this data operations are done in Click. Okay, so this is one of the techniques. The other techniques could be that they summarized all these KPIs, and saved it in an on-prem server or on cloud or any other data source, and they placed it there, and then they simply imported it in your visualization, in this case being Click, and created these views. So both the approaches are possible. It depends on what your necessity is, what your product demand is, right? There is no right or no wrong. So that is one of the things I wanted to clear out before we start. So let's start. So the first thing is, always whenever you're trying to build something, and if you have already imported or performed any kind of functions in your work environment, I would always suggest there is a command called proc datasets library equals to work kill no less. So what this will do, anything that is already residing in your workspace, let it be any work, any temporary data sets, or any values that you have assigned in this time duration, it will remove and kill. It will neutralize the ground for you. So let's take an example for this. This is an import program for a finance report. You can see that there are no errors in the log, and we have the output data set available. It's called work.import, and this we have it here, right? And all, we'll go back to our master program, we'll select this, and we'll run this program. See, anything, deleting work.import, work.registry, work.sasgopt, different kind of, anything that was residing in temporary memory has been washed away. Okay, so let's take the first example of connecting to DB2. So in this case, we are using libname that we usually use to create a library. In this case, we are creating a library connection. You can say, I'm not very sure that either this is a correct technical jargon or not, but just to give you an understanding of. So libname, and then libname is the keyword that we use. It's a part of syntax. Census is nothing but the name we have assigned to the library. And now in this case, db2 equals to being your database name, means your yes, db2 being your database name, user being your own credentials. So in this case, I've written here me. Okay. It can be anything. It can be 45321, any kind of Microsoft. It can be any username that have been given to you. Using equals to password. So using is again libname, db, user, using are the keywords. They have to be written the way this is. Census can be anything. db2 would be the name. User would be your ID, your user ID. It can be similar to your official login ID. It can be different depending on what kind of hierarchy your system follows. And password is nothing but, so these two, me and password. So these two credentials, your ID and your password, would be something that your organization or your admin group owners would give you this information. Okay. So all you have to do is this, you'll run this, it will tell you that it has been assigned successfully. And then just to check, census.source1. Okay, so if you are creating, you are copying a data set called source one from census, this library, and you are pasting something called result one, and you have used only, a small statement where state equals to 0 1, right? So this is something you can do. Okay, so this is one of the method to import uh, data from db2. Okay, now let's move to our second data source. So our second data source being teradata. Okay, so again in teradata also, again we are going to go for our lib name teradata, right? Teradata, we have used teradata twice. So if you would see here, so this is lib name, this is the name that we have given, this is the library name. Okay, then this teradata is nothing but, this would be a keyword, user being your username, password being your password, database being your database name, and your server credentials. So these are informations. This all information, again I'm reiterating myself, you would be provided to, this will be provided to you. Okay, this is not something that you will have to memorize or something, this is all information would be given it to you. Okay, so this is an example of syntax. Let's take an example. So you have written your lib name statement, you have run it. Then what you have, if you're using proc sql, you can directly connect, you can, all you have to do is connect to teradata, data source equals to teradata, then simply nothing. After this entire thing is nothing but your simple proc sql, means your sql statement. Create table, you if you're already well versed with sql, you will understand that this keywords are used to create a table, as would give you an option to select asterisk, means select everything from something called connection, from table called connection to teradata. So connection to teradata is again your keyword. Okay, so connect to teradata, this is your connection to teradata. And then again select star from table name. So select star from table name means this table name would be residing in teradata. And then again, this is your keyword, that disconnect from teradata, right? So this is simple. Now let's talk about, and you might have also been asked in interview, that what is a pass-through query. And now in this scenario, we are strictly talking in terms of SaaS environment, right? So what is a pass-through query? So pass-through query is nothing but using pass-through query, you get the feasibility that while you are importing the data, or let's say you are performing any operation on the data while you're importing it, so all that operation, all that functionality would happen in the database, that would not happen in your SaaS environment. So as you can see the definition, a pass-through query uh, is a query that is executed directly in database management system bypassing SaaS. This means that data is not transferred to SaaS for processing, but instead the processing is performed directly in database, and then the data is sent out in SaaS environment. Again, another example we can see, if you're connecting to, let's say, Oracle database, connect to Oracle as con. Okay, con is nothing but a name statement given, user being your username, password, again this would be provided by your admin team or your organization to you. Then this is nothing but a simple SQL statement, create table work dot data set underscore name as select star from connection dot database table, disconnect from con. So the first line is to connect, and then you have to disconnect, right? So this is simply, you can see that this can be used doing this. Okay, so just a minute guys. So let's begin again, and yes, So now in this case, now the other are two common example of an XLSX file that will be being your Excel sheet, and then another one being your CSV file. So this is very common. Proc import data file equals to file dot path, means file path, file name. Okay, so this would be something called file path, and then file underscore name dot extension, right? So file path can be uh, in most of the cases will be your on-prem server that you would be using. Okay, so yeah, you will need to have access to it. So as I said before, the first thing you have to check is that you have all the relevant access that are required to perform the data operations that you require. Then this another one is nothing but it gives you an option to select which sheet from that workbook do you want to import. Okay, then you have the option to pass on the range as well, that from which range do you want to from which range to which to from which cell to which cell, the entire range you want to import. So that is also something you can do using proc import. Okay, now let's go to the other one. So yes, the other one is connecting to Google Cloud Platform. So GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So before telling you the syntax or showing you how it is connected, I would like to give you a brief on how the data structures are there, or I would not say data structure, but I would see the hierarchical format, how the data is stored in GCP. So if you are aware in SAS, so in SAS, you create a library and you can, place your data sets inside the library. Okay. The similar thing you do in SQL, that you create a database, and inside that database, you can store your table. So what happens in GCP? In GCP, what will happen is you will have a project, right? Then inside that project, you will have different data sets and different tables, which you can use. So there would be an entire project. So what you can correlate to project as a library. Okay, and inside that you'll have your different data tables. Okay, so that is something that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so again, that is what I have listed out here, that project is nothing but which project do you want to connect in your so right, so that is what it's been listed out here. And if you'll see, you'll have your service account, that will be your AD group account credentials that you would have. Then you'll have your project. As I explained, in GCP you have a project, then you have a data set, right? Inside, then data set is the data set that you're referring to. Table is nothing but the table that would be created in work environment for you. And then you are writing your query is nothing but if you write select star and your project dot your data set name dot your table name, so it will get all the information. In this case, we are choosing just to get the customer ID and MOB. So just to give you an insight what MOB is something that in banking sector is called month on booked. So nothing but, let's say a customer joins the bank on 1st of January, and if we are checking his month on booked on March, so it will be 2. So it's been 2 months since the customer has joined the bank. Okay, so this is how, and then this include, and this is an entire syntax. So this is something called a soaring technique that you use to connect to different environments and to get data into SAS. And I would like you people to research about it, and I'll be explaining much in detail in the next video on this one. Okay, now another method that you can use that I have seen over I've researched over the net. The first one, the soaring technique, this is something that I've used personally. And then if I'm talking about the other one, the lib name technique, it's nothing but the lib name. Then you have the library name. Then there is a keyword called BigQuery. Grid path wouldn't be nothing but your location. Then again, you will have to describe your project. So being project schema would be your data set or table name, maximum char length you have defined here, and then you can run this query and connect to GCP. So this is also one of the way. I haven't used it. There might be some tweaks that are to be made on this code. So this is something I've taken from the open source information. Okay, so In this class, as of now, I have explained about all the data sources that I mentioned in the. So, hi everyone, welcome